Well, today we're going to be doing the first shots with the gun that I got my hands on clear back at SHOT Show 2025. And here we are a little over a year later, and that gun is finally here. So let's head to the range and take the first shots with the SDS Arms Mac IX. Alright, I need to get a few things out of the way real quick. SDS Arms did send this gun out to the channel for a review. I also want to give a big shout out to Pursuit Armory. They are a local gun store right here in my hometown, and they handled the FFL transfer on this Mac IX, or Mac 9. Some people call it that. And the last thing, I've already done a full unboxing video on this gun. We went over all the specs, the features, everything that comes in the box. So if you have not watched that video yet, I suggest you go back and watch that first before you watch this one. Because a lot of the stuff I covered in that video, we're not going to be covering today. This video is going to be all about my first shots with this gun and my first impressions of this gun. Now, if you do not want to go back and watch the unboxing video, I'm going to go ahead and roll the specs in on the screen, and you can pause it and check it out. Alright, now that we got all that out of the way, let's head out to the range. I'm going to show you what all's on the menu for our Mac IX, and we're going to have some fun. Alright, here's what we got on the menu today for our Mac IX. We're going to be using some CCI 115 grain Blazer, some 115 grain Federal Black Pack, some MagTech 115 grain. We've also got some Eggman 124 grain. We're also going to be using some of my reloads. These are a 124 grain Summit City Bullet. We will also be running all these rounds through a suppressor later on in the video. So let's talk a little bit about what this Mac IX is. This gun has a lot of features of an AR-9, and it also has a lot of features of an MP5. This gun runs on MP5 magazines. We're going to talk about those mags here in a little bit. It also has an MP5 style mag release, but it does not have a side charging handle that you can do the HK slap with. This actually has an AR style charging handle, and that charging handle is an ambi charging handle. And if the grip looks a lot like a grip on an AR-15, well, that's because this gun does use AR-style grips. And the same with the trigger. This gun uses an AR-15 style trigger. And we'll dive a little deeper into the trigger later on in the video. Now, there's only two things that I've done to this gun. Other than that, everything is all stock, just like it comes out of the box. I did add the Redwind Cobra Max Pro MTR red dot. I will have a review coming out on this optic shortly after you see this video. And I also put an SB Tactical triangle folding brace on this. And I actually stole this from my PSA AKV9. And I actually really like how this brace feels and works on this Mac IX. Now, being that this was a brand new gun and a brand new optic that I had never used, I wanted to run a couple mags through this just to get a feel for this gun. So after I got about 1.5 boxes of ammo through this, I wanted to set up a target at 15 yards and shoot some 10-shot groups. Now, my groups with this were not the greatest, and it's no fault of the gun or the optic. I think I was just having an off day, and I was also out doing the first shots video with the PSA AKV9, and going back and forth between this platform and that platform, there's a pretty big difference between the way these two guns shoot and the way they feel. So I think if I would have just been out doing the review on the Mac IX, I probably would have shot some better 10-shot groups. But all in all, they were all in the A zone. Just wished I could have shot these groups a little tighter. Now the barrel on our Mac IX is a 6.5 inch barrel, and this barrel is super cool and very unique. It is a 1/2 by 28 threaded barrel. Right now we do have a thread protector on here, and it does come with a muzzle brake or a flash hider right out of the box. So you have the option to run it with the thread protector, or you can put the provided brake on it. But what even makes this even better is the fact that this barrel does have a tri-lug adapter on it right behind the 1/2 by 28 threads. So if you have a suppressor that uses a tri-lug mount, well, you're in luck. You can throw it right on the Mac IX. Now, I'm really glad that they went with the 6.5 inch barrel instead of a 5 inch barrel like a lot of these PDWs use. And that's because you actually have a little bit of real estate here on the handguard. Now this handguard is rock solid. I put a little over 500 rounds on this gun because I was doing the review on the gun and the optic. But even with my big 2XL hands, I've got quite a bit of room here, and I just don't feel cramped up like I do on my Strybog. I've still got a little bit of room right there in front of my finger that I could probably put a Diafrico barricade stop on this, which I may do. And the other nice thing is you've got M-lock slots all the way around on this handguard. So, like I said, you could put a barricade stop out here on the front. Obviously, you got plenty of room to mount a weapon light if you choose to. And the nice thing is you have a full rail all the way from the charging handle to the front of the handguard. So you can pretty much put any optic on this you want. There's enough room for me to even put a magnifier behind this red dot if I wanted to. And we got plenty of room out here in the front if I want to add a pressure switch for a light. That's not going to be an issue either. Now, speaking of the 1913 rail on the top and the red dot, this gun also comes with iron sights. I showed you that in the unboxing video. And they're actually really nice sights. They're made out of metal, and they are adjustable sights. And this gun also comes with a sling in the box if you don't want to put a brace on it. So you pretty much got everything you need to shoot this right out of the box. Now, after I got done shooting those 10-shot groups, I went ahead and set up a couple USPSA targets and a couple steel targets. And I wanted to start putting 2 shots on each target and transitioning back and forth. And I will say one thing that I really like about this gun, it feels very well balanced. Now this gun weighs 5 pounds without the brace and the optic, which is not too bad weight-wise. All right, we got all our hits on the first piece of steel. Oh, this is nice. All alphas. And our next target, we got all alphas, 2 Charlies right outside the perf. And we got all our hits on our last piece of steel. Now, even though the Mac IX is just a direct blowback gun, keep that in mind. I know I said this has a lot of MP5 features, but this does not have the roller delay like the Mac 5s that they have available. But to be honest, I think this gun shoots very flat, and it's a pretty smooth shooter. Now, just like I said in the AKV9 video, I think a lot of that has to do with the brace that I chose to put on this. This triangle folding brace from SB Tactical is one of my favorites. One thing that I like about it is not only the length of the brace, but this brace flexes. And I think that helps soak up a lot of that felt recoil. So this is the brace I would recommend you put on your Mac iX. But being that this has a 1913 rail built right into the back, you can put on any brace you want. As long as that brace adapts to a 1913 rail, you can use it on this Mac iX. So now let's talk about the magazines. This does come with Mac branded MP5 style magazines. And these mags are standard capacity. They will hold 30 rounds of 9mm. And I really like these mags. They actually load pretty easy. And out of all the ammo that I showed you at the beginning of the video, I had 0 malfunctions with these magazines or the Mac iX. Now, I have not taken these mags apart yet, so I can't tell you how easy it's going to be to do cleaning and maintenance on these, but if I do get time, I will just do a full cleaning video on this gun and those mags. Now, speaking of the magazines, you do have a little bit of a flared mag well here, and the magazines insert nice and smooth. You get a really nice lockup. They do not wobble when you try to push them up or down. They do have a little bit of front to back wobble. Really nice fitment on the mags to the gun. Now, as far as the mag release goes, this has the MP5 style paddle mag release, and these magazines do drop free. You hit the release and they drop. But if you do not like the MP5 style mag release, well, like I said, because this is kind of a hybrid between an AR9 and an MP5, you've got an AR style push button mag release right there. And same deal. Push the button, the mags drop nice and free. Now, the last thing I want to cover on the mags is what's pretty cool with this is you do get last round bolt hold open. And to drop your bolt, you have an AR style release right here. Hit the button and it drops the bolt. And one other nice feature that I like that they did put a dust cover on here, because you do not see that on a lot of different PDWs and PCCs. All right, now this gun is clear. There's no mag and nothing in the chamber. Let's talk a little bit about the trigger on this, because in the unboxing video, I said I was not a real big fan of the trigger. But after getting it to the range and doing some live fire with it, it's actually not that bad. Now, the trigger on this is a curved trigger. There really is no take up. It just breaks. It's a little heavy. The reset on this, very short. It's tactile, audible. Does push your finger forward a little bit. But we're going to talk a little bit more about the trigger towards the end of the video. Now, I've got my Wheeler trigger pull scale here. I've got this zeroed out. I can't remember exactly what it was pulling at in the unboxing video. Yeah, that was about where it was. We're right at about 6 pounds. I think I got a couple pulls as low as 5.5. Let's do it one more time. Right there, we broke at 5.5 pounds. Now, one thing that I really like that they did with this gun, being a left-handed shooter, is this does have an ambi safety selector. It is a little stiff, but it works. I have not decided if that's something I'm going to upgrade on it when we get into the pros and cons, but all in all, it works pretty well. Now let's talk about how this gun runs suppressed, because this gun is an awesome suppressor host. Now, I was using my anechoic 45L. I do have the 35L in here now, and I'm super excited to get the video out on it. Now, all the ammo that I showed you at the beginning of the video ran flawless through this gun, whether we ran it suppressed or non-suppressed. So let's get into the pros and cons if you decide to get the Mac iX. The first con is I just really don't like the trigger in this. I want something a little lighter. I want about a 3.5 pound trigger pull, and I want a flat face trigger because this gun has a curved trigger, and I'm just not a fan of curved triggers anymore. Now, this is where I need your guys' help. If anybody's watching this video that already has this gun and you've upgraded the trigger, let me know what you've put in yours. Now, what I really want to put in this is a rise armament PCC trigger. I just put one in the X-Tar EP9 and I love it. And speaking of Rise Armament, if you guys are interested in picking up any Rise Armament product, they have been nice enough to provide me with a 20% off discount code. Now the best way to get over there is to head to my website, scroll down to the weekly deals section, and there's a link directly to Rise Armament with the code. Now that we got that out of the way, let's move on to my second con, and that is the safety selector. Now I like the design of it, I like how it feels, but it's a little stiff. But all in all, that is the only two cons I have with this gun. Now let's talk about the pros, because I got a lot of pros when it comes to this. First off, the barrel. We have a 1/2x28 threaded barrel. It comes with a muzzle brake if you choose to not run this suppressed, and a tri-lug adapter. So you have all these different options to mount a device on the end of this gun. My second pro is this handguard. I'm really glad, like I said earlier, that they went with a 6.5-inch barrel, because now I've actually got some real estate to get my hands on this handguard, and I think it feels really good. My next pro, the charging handle. It is an ambi charging handle. Being a left-handed shooter, I really like that. And it's pretty smooth. The next pro with this is the grip that's on this. This grip's actually really comfortable. Feels good in the hand. Got plenty of grip still hanging out under my pinky finger here, even with my big hands. So I actually really like this grip. My next pro, 1913 rail on the back. You can put any kind of pistol brace you want on this. And my last pro with this gun is the price. This gun comes in right at under 800 beans, which I think is a great deal. But 800 beans is pretty hard to beat for a gun that ran a little over 500 rounds reliably. You put a folding brace on this. The gun is super compact. This is going to fit in a backpack, under the seat of your truck if you want to use this for a truck gun. It's just pretty hard to beat for the price. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.